early excitement for a new coronavirus vaccine may be dampened by the reality of transporting millions of doses around the world. CBS News took a deep look at some of the issues Pfizer is facing in getting that vaccine to your local hospital. From packaging to storage and shipping, there are major hurdles that the drug company and the government have to overcome in order to ensure the vaccine is properly distributed to U.S. citizens. So Stephen Gandel is here to lay out some of the issues that he found in his reporting. Stephen is a CBS News MoneyWatch senior reporter. Hey, Stephen, thanks for joining us. When I read your article online, then I was like, now this is ridiculous. But we're going to break it down for people. And, you know, it is amazing what Pfizer came out with. And I was hesitant. I didn't want to gush right away because we know this is information actually coming from Pfizer. But many health professionals and doctors were elated about the news. But let us run through the issues. There was this little caveat. Oh, it just has to be stored in a very, very low temperature environment.
Very, very.
That's a very low. That is at the heart of the problem when it comes to distributing this vaccine, right?
Yes. So it has to be stored at almost negative 100 degrees, negative 93 degrees, which is 20 degrees lower than it is in the winter at the South Pole. And it's to stay there so the vaccine can remain viable. Now, the problem initially that people thought was we wouldn't have enough special refrigerated, ultra cold storage trucks to get these hundreds of millions of doses that we need to send around. So Pfizer came up with a solution, which is pretty smart. They came up with this box that can hold the vaccine at nearly negative 100 degrees Fahrenheit, but the problem is the box is going to create new logistical problems. And now this box can be shipped in any kind of truck or any cargo plane. The box gets sealed at the factory at Pfizer and can only last for 10 days. And it will take, they say, 3 to 4 days for it to get there. And then the hospital or the pharmacy or the outpatient clinic, the clock starts. That clock starts immediately.
So tick, 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 tick. And so the thing about it is that Pfizer has decided, okay, don't worry, we got the problem covered. We've created this special box and we will distribute it, not the government. Which I would think that's just one problem, but I would think that would be a problem in and of itself because that's not what Pfizer does. They're not a drug worldwide distribution company, correct?
That's correct. But because of this, they're using UPS and FedEx, so they've contracted some of it with them. But yeah, they were so concerned about the logistics of getting this thing out that they wanted to control it themselves. And the part of it that they will do will be controlled. I mean, no one now is concerned about getting the boxes to the hospital. It's the problem that when they get there. Again, it's 10 days from when they're sealed, and all these boxes are leaving from one of two locations, both in the Midwest, either Kalamazoo, Michigan, or Pleasant Prairie, Wisconsin. They'll take 3 to 4 days to get there. Once they get there, that means you have 6 days before this spoils. The boxes contain up to 5,000 doses each, right? So you have then 6 days, that's around 800 doses a day that if you're working an 8-hour day, right, you got to get those out to people. So it's going to be a major operation. And the other thing is that you only have 3 minutes, 180 seconds to get the amount of doses that you need at a time. The box can only be opened for 180 seconds at a time. Then it's got to be resealed. And it can only be opened twice a day. So you got to get the box there. You've got to distribute it within 6 days. And within those 6 days, you only have 180 seconds to get the hundreds of doses out that you need. And if you take, say, 150 doses out and only 100 people show up, then you have a problem. Or if you take 100 doses out and 150 people show up to be vaccinated that day, you don't have enough. And you can't reopen the box to get it.
This whole thing reminds me of those like spy messages you open up and then it's like you have 30 seconds before this self-destructs and you got to like get the instructions and get it done in those 30 seconds or whatever. Yes. So I imagine that Pfizer has to also factor in a tremendous amount of waste, that there are just going to be some doses that are just going to time out. And so here you have a vaccine that doesn't take just one dose, but 2 doses. And
yes,
a vaccine that, in terms of production, they're trying to ramp up so they can get it out to as many people as possible, which means they don't only have to create the amount of vaccine that's needed, they're going to have to create the amount of vaccine that's needed plus the amount of waste that they factored in.
That's right. So we're talking about 50 million doses they're going to have by the end of the year. 25 million for the U.S., 25 is going to be in Europe. So we're only talking about 12.5 million people that can be vaccinated. And if there's just 10% waste, that's 1.2 million people or so that couldn't get the vaccine. So Pfizer is not saying there's going to be a lot of waste, but the experts I talked to can't imagine how there won't be a lot of waste. Now, there is one workaround. You can buy an ultra deep freezer. Hospital can buy this. And that can store a certain amount of doses in the tens of thousands for 6 months. But these freezers cost around as much as $20,000, and now everyone wants one, right? And they haven't been in much demand before. So the lead time now is 6 weeks to get one of these freezers. And for a rural hospital, and there are a lot of hospitals in the U.S. coming into COVID that were struggling. The COVID has made their financial problems even worse. They don't necessarily have the money to pay for one of these ultra cold freezers, which you don't need it for anything else. It's going to be something that you need just for this vaccine and nothing else. So it's a big expenditure, and it's not clear the government's going to cover. The government said they're going to cover the COVID vaccine. It's not clear if they're going to cover all the extra costs that are going to be involved with ramping up, with getting all those people on staff that day to distribute the 800 doses for these ultra cold freezers. Or if you want, you can keep packing this thing. You get an extra 5 days. You can keep packing it with dry ice. But Pfizer's using a special kind of dry ice. So you got to find that. And and people say that's going to be a strain on the amount of dry ice that's made in the U.S. So there's a lot of logistical hurdles. One expert told me it's a logistical nightmare.
It totally sounds like that. I encourage people to head to our website and check out Stephen Gandel's article on this, because we're sort of just giving you an overview, and we don't want to be sort of Debbie Downers, but it's important to note that when we do get this information about potential vaccines, these breakthroughs, that information is often coming from the drug companies. And so you have to ask all these other questions too to find out whether or not, this is realistic. So yeah, go check out the article. It's really, really interesting. And I think it just reinforces the idea that everyone keep wearing your mask, keep washing your hands, keep social distancing. A vaccine may not be the hero that you need it to be immediately. At least for now, you have it within your control to protect yourself from this virus. Stephen Gandel, thank you so much.
Nice to see you.